How much as an investigator can you look at how the family is reacting? So like in the Abaroa case, okay? The day that they bury his wife, he flies.
You need to backtrack on this. People, they don't know what Abaroa case is.
Okay, we'll just get into it. So one of the cases that you worked that gained national notoriety was the Raven Abaroa case. Killed his wife, he said she was going to bed. He went to play soccer with his friends, came home, she was shot, is what he tells the police. And anyway, long story short, day they bury her, he cashes in her life insurance policy. So is that enough to look at Raven as a potential suspect as like, hey, this doesn't seem right? Or can you just say, hey, everybody reacts differently in the case of a tragedy?
Well, here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is always remember the totality of the circumstances. Like one individual act may be completely harmless and it could turn out to be that, or it could be the most pivotal part of the case. Because in Abaroa, let's take that one for example. One of the things that when I got Abaroa, I got it as a cold case. I think it was 4 or 5 years old when I caught it. And, what I did is I got the files and, the boss said, hey, take this thing, spend, some time on going over it. And so I went into it, with a clear mind and just started, digesting everything that was available for the case, and one of the things that stuck out to me was the initial officer's response, and it was brought up in the court. And the reason that this ties in with what you're talking about is that, here is a guy whose wife had just been murdered, and he says that she was shot, but she was actually stabbed, which is important too, because stabbing is an intimate thing. It's not something that, particularly in domestic homicides. But anyway,
can I stop you right there? Do you think he said that she was shot to kind of throw the investigators off? Do you think that's why he said that to the police?
I just think Raven's case was the classic example of staging. It was the most staged crime scene ever. Textbook. You could teach seminars on this case on staging. And what I mean is, and he went days before. Again, you got to remember, and you and I talked about the Peterson case. Yeah. Some of these guys, these domestic homicides, I mean, there's a plot. They plan. It's not, in the heat of the moment. Now, there are occasions in the heat of the moment, but like in this case, no, there was planning, staging, taking cars away, doing different things to get the crime scene to where it would be. And I think what he did, and if you ever, the most convincing thing that you can ever do, and we did it in court, is listen to the 911 recording. Mm-hmm. Not one time, and I want to say it goes on for several minutes, does he ever ask for help for his wife. I'm going to tell you, and that was a huge thing. There's actually indicators or a profile, if you will, on 911 calls. It's, when your 911 caller is the killer. He hit 70% of them. Because think about it. Think about this. And going back to what you're talking about, a family member, if your wife or your loved one, you come home and you find them in that condition, you're not going to be talking. I really encourage you and your audience to listen to it, because that to me, it was the tipping point. And what he does is through the entire time, he asked for his bishop. He asked for other things for himself, and never once does he ask for help. And he also accepts her death, which is not part of what happens. He describes her condition. He describes the house. He describes all these details, which, I've listened to hundreds of 911 calls, and that just doesn't occur. Normally they're mad. They're like, cussing. They're wanting the police here. They're wanting help for their victim, and they don't stay on the phone like he did. So, but let's go back to where we were talking about. So these little indicators or totality of circumstances, what really drew my eye to how this thing was playing out is the initial officer that responds, uniform patrol, in uniform, as a female officer. And during his interaction with that officer who took detailed notes and fired off a written report immediately after it. She described. I mean, he's like almost flirting with her, like come on. I mean, really, like it's. So these are the kind of things that, when you're looking at the totality of circumstances, sure, that's not usual behavior at all from a suspect.